How's it going? David from Comic Book Investments. So this is going to be a quick review of my thoughts of the Zack Snyder Justice League movie. I watched it last night. I had to watch it in like two separate viewings because it's just so long. But it's nice because it broke it up into like five or six different parts. So that was kind of cool. Um, so my overall thoughts. The last time I saw the first movie, or basically the same movie, was in theaters. And then I think I gave it like a 5 out of 10. I didn't think it was all that good. Um, it just kind of seemed weird, and motivations seemed weird. Um, but I'll kind of go through, I took a few notes here on my phone. I'll kind of go through like what I thought. By the way, there's going to be spoilers, so be warned. Um, there's a lot more action. Like I remember in the intro scene with Wonder Woman, I don't remember all that action. Also, there's a scene with Darkseid. There's a lot more action there. Just overall, there's like it seemed like they cut out a good portion of action, which I definitely liked watching. So that was kind of cool. Um, there was a lot of Lois Lane scenes that seemed kind of like just pointless, and she just walked around like a sad sack all the time. And I see why they did it. So it kind of like, when Superman comes back to life, that's what brings him back to being, normal and not all crazy, which kind of really didn't make sense. Like, why all of a sudden he sees her and then it's just like, oh yeah, everything came back. All my memories. Oh yeah, perfectly. That's was kind of weird. I always thought it was weird in the other one as well. Um, but yeah, she just kind of walks around as like always sad, being a sad sack, not working. I don't know. I just hate those types of characters. Um, Another thing that I thought was kind of I picked up on. So there's the mother boxes, and the humans, Amazonians, and the Atlanteans all get one, and the Atlanteans and Amazonians like put it in like this special cave with all these warriors around it that no one could touch. But then, the humans just like, oh, I'm just gonna bury it in the ground, and so that was kind of funny. But there's a part in the beginning where Steppenwolf comes to this little temple where all the Amazonians are to get the mother box, and all like there's like 100 warriors just standing around the box, and then Steppenwolf comes and I'm like, well, why were they just all standing around that box to begin with? It's been like what, like 5,000 years, and they're just always there standing around the box every day. They just go into work and they're like, okay, I'm gonna stand around this box for all day. Okay, my shift's over. Like, I don't understand why they're there. And then they battled. um, the battle there was a lot better. Like, Steppenwolf threw a horse. I don't remember that in the original, so that was kind of cool. His CGI, I was like, well, why did they change it? But then it was better. Like, obviously, technology's improved, but I liked his suit a lot more, like the armor he had on it, and so that was kind of cool. And then um, I feel like his character model is a lot better in this one, so that was kind of cool. Speaking of Steppenwolf, his motivations made a lot more sense in this. Like, they gave him at least some backstory. As before, he was just like, I'm just a big monster. I want to take over the world, I guess. But this one gave him a lot more backstory. Like, he was kicked out of whatever his group with Darkseid and all that kind of stuff, and so he's just been roaming around, pointlessly, and is trying to appease Darkseid so he can get back in good graces with him. So that's kind of cool. I feel like it was rated R because there's a lot more blood and violence. Like, there's this time where Wonder Woman like throws this bad guy, this like a thug, against the wall, and his whole head like pretty much explodes, and there's blood everywhere. So he was definitely dead, and they showed it. So I was like, okay, I feel like this is like kind of like rated R. Um, they when they did the before times, when they showed in the original one, they showed Steppenwolf coming in and like taking over and fighting the Green Lantern and all that kind of stuff. But in this one, they had it as Darkseid, which was cooler because that made more sense. Um, in the old one, they pretty much just got rid of Darkseid altogether, even though they touted him like, oh, he's coming out, all this kind of stuff, and then they just like, it wasn't even like, it was like barely even mentioned. Like, yeah. Um, One thing I didn't like that Zack Snyder added, which he always seems to do, is he adds all these random, like, it's like normal pop songs, but then they're like with a sad twist to them, so they're all in minor chords and all this kind of stuff. And he just puts those all the time. It was just like for the first half of the movie, it's very weird. It wasn't like the classical cinematic music where it's like dun, 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 or something like that, or some strings, and it was just like these songs, like people singing, and it's just all sad, and it's just like, and it's just like one right after another, after another, after another, to make it feel like, oh, it's so epic. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so annoying. Like the part where Barry saves Iris. They're playing this song, and it's just like this. It feels so out of place. It is so bad. Like I'm a musician, and it just it just didn't work, and it felt weird, and it felt corny. It makes it look like a CW show. Um, I never really liked the Barry Allen in this. I found him annoying, and he was actually less annoying in the Zack Snyder one. In the other one, he was always doing these little jokes and stuff. He still does it, but it's not nearly as much. He doesn't come off nearly as corny. He has more of a backstory, and that's what they did. They took out a lot of the jokes out of the older one, and which was good. And it's so much. It's so weird how much was not in the older one. And there's even scenes in the older one that weren't in this one. One thing that they did that made a lot more sense in this one was Superman's resurrection. So in the other one, I mean, granted, this one had like 4 or 5 hours to make a movie. The other one was like 2 hours. So Superman comes back pretty quick in the other one. It's almost like, oh, there's these bad parademons. All right, what are we gonna do? All right, we have to fight this bad Steppenwolf person. All right, we need Superman. Let's get him out. And then I don't. Yeah, he just like comes back to life so easily. But this one was a lot better because they explain that the mother boxes can bring back, not really bring back, in a sense, someone. They can just reverse whatever happened. So they can change matter. So they explain it like this: like a match can burn down a house, but a mother box can take the smoke and the ash from the house and rebuild the same house, type of thing. So that was kind of cool. So that the resurrection made a ton more sense, and which I liked. That was definitely a good ad. Martian the Manhunter's in it. He's in a couple scenes, which is kind of cool, but he didn't really do anything other than show up. Everything kind of like overall, everything kind of made a lot more sense in this. Um, the villain had a lot better like story arc. Like just overall, the movie made more sense. But again, this is like 4 or 5 hours long, and the other one was like 2.5 hours long or something like that. And so that's the fault of Zack Snyder to begin with, because the movie he was making was going to be 4 or 5 hours long, and it's like, how do you originally when you set out to make this film, it's going to be about 2.5 hours. Like most studios aren't going to be like, yeah, let's do a 4 hour long movie. That doesn't work. So I don't know why he would write a movie that's 4 to 5 hours long and then try to cut it down, because that's what happened with the original Justice League. You had to cut it down, and it just was a mess because you put in too much stuff. Like in the original one, Cyborg wasn't barely in it. It's like, oh, he's a cyborg. Okay, cool. But this one, it's like he has way more scenes. You get to see way more. It's just like everything was a lot better. Like Barry Allen is literally like Bruce Wayne shows his cave. It's like, oh, I've seen a video footage of this weird fast guy. Shows up to his little man cave, and then he's like, join a team. Okay, but this one, it's like you get more. Yeah, there's more going on. Barry Allen was just so much better in this. He's still kind of annoying. I don't like him as much, but he's a lot less annoying, which is good. Um, One thing that was like super annoying, that like they're building this up, like, okay, you know, Steppenwolf like destroys the Justice League minus Superman, and then Superman shows up, and Steppenwolf can't even do a thing to him. Literally, like punches him, nothing happens. Like Superman doesn't even move. Like not even. Like basically, when Superman shows up, there's like not even an instant threat anymore. Like Steppenwolf has this big axe, and it's pretty cool. So Superman shows up, Steppenwolf hits him in the axe. It hits him right here. Doesn't even phase Superman. Superman then blows on it, turns it to cold, ice, and then crushes it instantly, and then just destroys Steppenwolf. Uses heat vision, blows off half of his head, and then they end up cutting his head off after they get his armor off and all sorts of stuff. It was great. But the whole time, Darkseid is through this portal watching, and I'm like, all right. So Superman just comes in, destroys, not even a threat whatsoever, and so now Darkseid's going to come through the portal because you can see him watching, getting mad. And you're like, all right. And then Darkseid says, oh, I'm not going over there. Let's go another time. And then I was like, so you build up Darkseid as this big bad. You have 5-6 hours to make this movie. And you don't even have a final fight with Darkseid because Zack Snyder knows there is no Justice League 2. It's not like, all right, here's Darkseid, the big bad. Let's give him a big challenge. We know there's not going to be a Justice League 2, so now we're never going to see Darkseid. And I'm like, well, that's pointless. You showcase this Darkseid character throughout, and they do. Zack Snyder likes to do this. Millions of these dream sequences and these backstories all the time, jumping from timeline to timeline, and you're like, okay, this is premonitions, what's going to happen, what could have happened, all this kind of stuff. But you show Darkseid, there's not going to be a number 2. They've already, the DCEU, whatever, has already been canceled. They recast it and everyone and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh. You should have at least had a battle or something. So that was super annoying. They build up this character. A lot of it seemed like they're like, oh, let's take really cool scenes that people like, and we'll just put him in the movie. So in Flashpoint, the part where Barry has, he's hurt and he has to run really fast to reverse all the crap that he did, which I love Flashpoint. It's one of my favorites. So they kind of did that, right? Barry is running really, really fast and he's supposed to touch Cyborg as soon as he goes into the mother boxes so Cyborg can reconfigure everything. And he gets hit and he gets this cut. And so then they kind of do that part where he's trying to run and he has to reverse time. It was cool looking, but it's yeah, it's cool. But I feel oh, you just stole a bunch of things from, the reason why, it worked in Flashpoint is because you built up to this point with Flash and all this kind of stuff. But it's almost that scene was cool. Let's do that and then put that in here. And they also did that with, so then the movie ends, and then they did this whole 20-minute, I don't even know what it was. I'm was this ever going to be in the movie? I'm so confused. Did you reshoot this? Because the whole time, so Jared Leto shows up in the trailer, but he's not really even in the movie. The movie literally ends, and then they do this extended after the credits scene but it's all a dream. So it shows Batman, and it shows Mira, and it shows Deathstroke and Cyborg all working together, and they're in this desert planet thing, everything's destroyed, and they're I can't believe this happened. So basically what happens is Superman turned evil and then basically killed all the heroes, so now they're the Resistance and Joker's on Batman's team, and then they have a little conversation kind of thing where that storyline where it's always Joker's well, you need me just as much as I need you kind of thing, and we're basically intertwined, one can't exist without the other type of thing. They do that monologue, and then all of a sudden Bruce Wayne wakes up and is oh, it's all a dream. And then Martian Manhunter just shows up and goes, hey, I see that you are putting a team together. I would like to join. And then he flies away. And I was what? Why was... And the part Joker had this sheriff's bulletproof vest on with a bunch of sheriff badges that he'd probably killed and got. And that whole scene looks do you remember this video game came out and they made a cinematic thing of it where all the superheroes are all fighting and then Lex Luthor kills Wonder Woman and puts the kryptonite in her mouth. So then Superman comes down from charging from the sun. He gets all weak, and then they kill him and stuff like that. And it has to do with Brainiac or whatever. It was like remind me of that scene, and it's almost like Zack Snyder like that looks cool. How can I put that in my movie? But it's like this has nothing to do with the movie. It was literally just a random scene. I'm like, why is this here? Did they shoot this after? Because I know they did reshoots. I mean, is this the reshoot that you did? Like, what was the point of that? It's almost like they're showing, what was it, Injustice, where Superman turns bad, like that story arc. Like, oh, that's where we're gonna go in the future. This story arc, and but it's not happening. It's like, why are you even showing this? It's like, it's never going to happen because all those actors don't even work for Warner Brothers anymore. They've recasted everyone. Zack Snyder doesn't work for the Warner Brothers anymore. So I don't know. That whole thing was kind of like, why? Did you just have footage and you're like, oh, let's just show everything we have? So, and it's just, so it's scenes that really have nothing to do with anything. There's random scenes. So anyhow, they tout like Joker's going to be in it. He's not in it. He's literally in the end. That makes no sense anyways. And in the end of the original, it shows that Lex Luthor is putting the Legion of Doom together. But in this one, Deathstroke shows up and he goes, oh, by the way, Batman's secret identity is Bruce Wayne. And he's like, oh, awesome. I could use that. And that was bad. There's a lot of weird things that didn't really make sense. A lot of things that like, oh, this is what's going to happen in the next movie, but it's like there is no next movie. So that kind of bummed me out. Overall, I would give this probably like the original one. I think I gave like a 5. I would give this one like a 7 or an 8 out of 10, somewhere around there. It was really good. It was a lot better. It was a lot better than the original. I'll give it that. But it also had 5 hours to do what the other movie only had 2 hours to do. So that's kind of like cheating in a way. If you had to cut this down to 2 hours, it'd be just a mess, just like the other one. It would make no sense. So I put that on the fault of Zack Snyder. So maybe I'm leaning more towards like a 7. Only the reason I'm getting a higher grade than the other one is because I do rate it on the fact that it's still a movie, whether it's 5 or 2 hours. And so a lot of things did get explained. A lot of things were better. Like the movie made sense. It was engaging. It was fun. It's just really long. A lot of things I wish they would have done differently. But overall, pretty good. It was fun. You know, I'm glad he got to make the movie he wanted to make, but he should have made it to begin with like that. So, and I can see why he got fired. He said he stepped down, but I think he got fired because I'm sure when the executives started seeing this, like, dude, this movie's going to be like 6 hours long. Nothing's going to make sense. How are you going to cut this down? He's like, don't worry, I'll figure it out. And they're like, okay, you're gone. And then they got Josh Whedon to figure it out, which I think he made it worse. I don't know. Yeah, and there's whole characters that were never even in the other one that have like a lot of character time. So, yeah, overall, let me know what you guys think. Thanks. Bye.